Sometimes you look at a week's worth of headlines, and they seem totally disconnected. But every now and then, they snap together to tell one single powerful story. And for Canada, this was one of those weeks. It's a story that reveals this fascinating strategy of defense and diversification in the face of some really intense pressure. Okay, let's get into it.
This is really at the heart of everything. What do you do when your number one partner, your closest friend, starts to feel like your biggest economic headache? It's an incredible balancing act, and as you're about to see, it's forcing Canada to make some pretty bold, pretty calculated moves.
All right, so first up, let's talk about the squeeze. This is the first half of our story. We're talking about serious, mounting economic pressure coming from the south, and it's hitting some of Canada's most important industries right where it hurts.
And look, this isn't just one thing. It's really a multi-front challenge. You had the Trump administration's broad global tariffs, which was one thing. But then, on top of that, came these targeted hits on specific Canadian exports. It all adds up to what is basically a perfect storm of trade disputes.
And this chart right here just shows you exactly what I mean. The U.S. Commerce Department decided to more than double its duties on Canadian softwood lumber. We're talking a jump from just under 7% to over 14%. For an industry that's worth billions of dollars, a hike like that, that's not just a minor inconvenience, it's a massive economic blow.
And it's so important to remember, this isn't just about abstract numbers or economic theory. As this quote from business groups in BC points out, these decisions have real-world consequences. We're talking about jobs, we're talking about families, we're talking about entire communities whose livelihoods depend on that cross-border trade.
And the pain doesn't stop with lumber. Nope. Now, we're seeing new data that shows a steep drop in the value of Canadian aluminum exports heading to the U.S. It's the same pattern, another direct result of these tariff pressures, and it just reinforces this whole story of a deliberate squeeze on key Canadian sectors.
But Canada isn't just sitting back and taking these punches. And that brings us to the second part of our story, the pivot. Because faced with all this pressure, the country is starting to play chess, making some very smart, very strategic countermoves.
So what's the game plan? Well, this slide lays it out beautifully. With trade talks with the U.S. going nowhere fast, the Canadian government sent senior ministers straight to Mexico City. The mission? To proactively strengthen their partnership, deepen energy cooperation, and boost trade, all using the existing North American trade deal. It's a clever way to build a stronger continental relationship while kind of sidestepping the drama with Washington.
Now this pivot, it isn't just about shipping containers and trade routes. It's also about people. And to get this next part, you have to understand a system called express entry. This is not your typical immigration line. Think of it more as a strategic economic tool, a sophisticated system designed to find and invite skilled workers that Canada's economy specifically needs. And here you see that tool in action. Just this week, Canada's Immigration Department held its third express entry draw. That's 3 in 1 week, and they sent out 2,500 invitations to apply for residency. But here's the kicker. They were all specifically for candidates who are proficient in French. This is not random. It is a targeted, surgical strike to bring in skills that bolster the national economy and identity.
So you've got this big international chess match going on. How is all of this actually playing out back home for everyday Canadians? Well, the picture is, let's just say, it's complicated. These big moves are creating some really complex and honestly contradictory ripple effects across the economy.
Just take a look at this. It's a perfect example of the confusion. On one hand, Statistics Canada reports that the country lost 41,000 jobs in July, which is a big deal. But in the very same week, a single mining stock, Kirkland Lake Discovery, shot up by a staggering 88%. It's a total paradox, right? Bad news for jobs overall, but incredible news for a key resource sector. It really shows you just how turbulent things are right now.
And at the exact same time, the day-to-day work of running a country has to go on. While all this high-stakes trade drama is unfolding, other parts of the government are just doing their job, like issuing updated travel advisories for places like Italy. It's just a good reminder that even in a crisis, a country has to keep juggling all of its global responsibilities at once. So let's step back. What does this all add up to? You've got a trade squeeze from your biggest ally,
a strategic pivot toward other partners, and a pretty confusing and volatile economy at home. It really forces us to ask a huge question about what all this means for Canada's future.
And really, this is the question that hangs over everything we've talked about. Is this constant economic tug-of-war, this state of perpetual motion where Canada is forced to constantly stay on its toes and pivot, is this just the new normal? The events of just 1 week suggest that it very well might be. Makes you think, doesn't it? Thanks for watching.